All right. Good morning. My name is Marla. I am in the New Orleans area. I will be facilitating the meeting today. Eracism is the slogan of the group Erace, which was formed in New Orleans in the summer of 1993. We seek ways through person to person communication to show that we are committed to treating all human beings with love, respect, empathy, compassion, and humility. Join us. Erace is an organization that does not espouse any political party, and we have no religious affiliation. We believe in acceptance of all people, and no personal attacks of any kind will be tolerated. We come with the intention to listen, learn, and not to argue. We begin today by acknowledging that what we know as the United States is the ancestral and unceded territory of many indigenous peoples, and that there are many more nations and tribes that could be named here. Members of our meeting group today are on the lands of the Chitimacha and Choctaw in New Orleans, the Creeks and Cherokees in Atlanta, the Tonkawan, Lipan Apache, and Comanche in Austin, the Lenape and Piscataway in the Washington, D.C. metropolitan area, the Wampanoag and Nipmuc peoples in Boston, the Coahuila and Mojave in Riverside, and the Lumbee in Fayetteville. We thank their ancestors for being stewards of these lands through the generations and through today. We need to protect and honor the history and people of these places. Despite centuries of colonial theft and violence, we should always remember that we are still on Indigenous land and it will always be Indigenous land. And I'm going to get up and close my door for just a second. I'll be right back. Okay, apologies. All right. First, I'm going to go around and I'll have everybody introduce themselves, and then we will get started. But just know that a list will be kept of names of people who would like to be called on by the facilitator. If you'd like to be on the list, please just raise one finger and and then you will have 2 minutes. Please respect the speaker, no side comments to others, no personal attacks or name calling. And if you have a question regarding something that the speaker said, you can also put up 2 fingers while they are speaking, and after they're done, you will have a chance to say, I didn't know what you meant by, could you please explain, and so forth. And the clarifying questions are not meant to further the opinion of the asker. They are just meant to clarify exactly what the name implies. All right, go around the room on the order, the screen on the order of which I see you, and just introduce yourself, please, and we'll get started. Beatrice.
Good morning, Beatrice here in East Point, Georgia, right outside of Atlanta, and glad to see everyone.
Thank you. Louise.
Louise in Austin now, but I've been a part of Erace since mid-90s in New Orleans and now in Austin, Texas.
Thank you. Glenn.
Glenn Abdullah. Been a member since 1994 and looking forward to today's meeting.
Phyllis.
Good morning, I'm Phyllis. I've been coming since the summer of 2008, and I'm in the New Orleans area.
Nancy.
Good morning. My name's Nancy. I have been a part of Erace since June of 2007, and I am in the New Orleans area.
Thank you. Stephanie.
Hi, everyone. Sorry that I'm driving. Stephanie, I've been a member of Erace for 6 years, and I'm in the Atlanta area.
Teresa. Teresa, if you're trying to talk, you are on mute, or maybe you can't unmute. Okay, we can always come back to Teresa. All right. I don't really have a long explanation as to why I selected the article that I did. Seems pretty self-explanatory given the overall state of our nation at this time. And I just appreciated that this article addressed kind of the quote unquote elephant in the room, at least not necessarily an elephant, because certainly many folks on social media are talking about the same thing. So, very curious to hear everybody's take on the article itself and some of the things that are transpiring in our
Hey,
nation.
Marla, I'm sorry. Can I introduce myself?
Please,
I finally figured it out.
yeah, go
I'm
ahead.
Teresa from Fayetteville, North Carolina. I've been coming since August 2022. And if you can't tell, I am pushing a shopping cart right
Hey,
now in a parking lot. So
all
thank
right,
you.
thank you. All right, I'll start taking folks to be on the list, and if you'd like to be on the list, please hold up a finger. Anybody? Nancy.
Okay. I mean, I don't. What do I want to say? I mean, uh, yeah. I mean, I saw on. I don't remember if it was Facebook or Instagram. It seems like I live with those two today. The most recently, I had more time on my hands, but um, all from Michael Brown, Landell Castile, Sandra Bland, um, Eric Garner, um, different people who were murdered by the law enforcement and were, you know, their story, George Floyd, that it was somehow their fault that they didn't comply with the police, whatever they, the police made them a story about what they did or did not do, which led to their own demise and whatnot. So, yeah, this has been going on in the Black community for ever. I mean,
Beatrice.
years ago. I mean, back to Jim Crow, Reconstruction. It's always been an issue and whatnot. So it's not surprising that law enforcement is not taking responsibility. But this is like the first time that I've seen that, and I can be corrected, that it has affected the white community, and they're just can't believe that this is happening and whatnot. However, I don't know how much time I have left,
Two
but I
seconds,
feel
but
like
okay.
while that is important, I'm almost out of time. There we go. Okay, I will get back on the list.
Okay, it is working. Yay. Teresa, I see you. Um, okay, and I think Beatrice, you are next, and then Nancy wanted to get back on, and then Teresa is after Nancy. So, Beatrice.
Yeah, the whole narrative when these kinds of shootings, police involved shootings occur is always disturbing. They're backed up by the officers. It was justifiable. The officers were frightened. Their lives were in danger. Aside from all of the, I call them death penalty events that Nancy referred to, we had a man, it was a veteran who was having emotional issues here in Atlanta. It's been maybe 15 years ago. Man was nude. He was nude. He had, the police family had called the police. Family had called the police to come and kind of help him. What weapon was he going to urinate on him? I mean, it's just it defies logic. It makes one wonder, why did you become a police officer if you can just be so ready to grab a weapon because you think somebody is going to harm you? You think somebody's doing something. Philando Castile reaching for his license to let the person know that he had a right to carry a weapon. But I'm telling you, When I see that these policemen done killed two white people, black people, y'all stay home, baby. It's fine to be with the movement, and you're right, and things are happening terribly wrong with ICE. But if they shooting white people, baby, y'all stay at your house. It's a heartbreak. The kind of narrative that Pam Vonda, these people open their mouths and just say anything about these people, that they are malicious, they have malicious intent. They were going. It defies logic and reason. It is hurtful, and when we think of our history going all the way back, this has been happening to our people. So y'all may now wake up. It is now equality time. It's happening to you too. It's your turn, and it's heartbreak. I'm not making light of any of it, but we have come to a place.
Sorry, it's really loud.
That's all right. I'll be back later, but
Okay. You can finish your statement if you'd like, Beatrice.
I really had just that this is equality. Now others are experiencing what we have experienced and the narrative that they are creating. We know this. We know this script. We played this play before.
All right, thank you. Um, did you want to get back on the list, Beatrice? I apologize.
I'll wait till more people speak. I'll come back later. Thank you for the option.
Okay, you're welcome. Nancy, you're next. And then Teresa, and I think Stephanie, did you have your hand up? Okay, and then Stephanie. All right,
You know,
Nancy.
I said, while this is horrible and it just, well, what happened to um, Nicole Good and Alex Pretty, it's horrible. It's horrible. Um, I feel that also before it becomes old news, the racist post from the White House needs to be addressed. I can't believe that took place. I can't. Their response, they blamed it on a low-level staffer. Well, who's the low-level staffer? Ultimately, it is your responsibility for what your staff does. You shouldn't be blaming it on a low-level staffer. It's it, what Adriana Diaz was in tears this morning. She was, I don't know if you watched the CBS Saturday morning, and she's a newscaster, and she was really shaken up by how this affects children and adolescents and teenagers and their self-image if this is what you're portraying, and refuse to apologize, will not apologize for it. And I think that it's just embarrassing as a nation that we have a president who cannot take the good of the country and admit, he can't take the high road. He won't take the high road. And it's embarrassing, I feel, for us on national and international stage, the way he has handled it. Anyway, I just wanted to say that.
Thank you, Nancy. Teresa.
Hi, thank you. I just want to say this article just kind of made me think, dear white people, you know that series or the movie, because there's both a series and a movie called Dear White People. And it's like if I were to write a letter to all white Americans, I would say, you saw this coming. Whatever they practice in our community, they're going to come to you, because if it's so effective, let's say, why would they stop at just race? Or why would they stop at just poor people? Or why would it ever not just spread? you know, but there's this white privilege that says, okay, I see it and it's horrible, but it's not going to affect me. And yes, it will. It's going to come at your doorstep and it's here now. So I like this particular article because it is bittersweet. All the times that, you know, I can't believe oh, really? If you can't believe it, that's only because you didn't believe Black people when it was happening. You thought that the police were really there to serve and protect. And a lot of what we do, um, capitalism was born in the United States. And the policing force or the enforcers, the overseers, whatever you want to call them, they have always been in place to protect landowners, everything. I mean, if people run away from history and learning about slavery and why Black people won't shut up about it, it's because so much of what our institutions are built on was built on that. And I learned a new phrase yesterday called boomerang imperialism or something like that, or boomerang fascism, whatever it is. It's just like the enforcement that we do in other countries is now being turned back onto us. And that's the concept of boomerang. All of these things that we've seen, that alarm is alarming. When you
And I
first hit,
turned it down. I'm
no, when
so
it first hit,
sorry.
I looked around and I was like, oh my God, is there an emergency? But it's
I'm
effective.
sorry. I don't know
No,
why
no,
it
no,
won't
no.
turn down.
It's okay. It's okay. I'm glad I wasn't the first one to hear it because I'm driving and that would have just freaked me the heck out. But thank
Okay.
you.
Thank you. I tried to change the tone to something a little more, a little less unsettling. Okay.
Thank you.
Since our nervous systems are already on full overdrive. Okay, Stephanie, and then Phyllis, and then Beatrice. Stephanie, go ahead.
Thanks.
Thank
Thanks.
you.
Um, yeah, I get frustrated with my white friends that express interest in erase and in different things, and then they don't prioritize it. And there was a time where I wasn't prioritizing it either, or they don't want to talk about racism, or they want to stay silent. I get really frustrated, and so and everybody always said, justice for justice, unless there's justice for everyone, it's justice for no one, and no one's safe. And here it is happening to white people, and um, yet I read something. Do you know how many Black and brown people were killed in this whole process that haven't even been on the news? I mean, over 30 people have been killed that were taken by ICE and detained, and they're not getting proper food and care if they're ill, and they're unnamed, a lot of those people. So, the white privilege of getting to be on the front page of the news and everything is continuing. And just, even in the most racist thing that the president has done yesterday, again, I continue to look to my white friends who I know have great hearts and good intentions. And I'm like, please, when are you going to prioritize this? When are you going to um, try to learn more or listen more or try to find a way to talk about it? I know it's uncomfortable. I know you're scared. There was a time where I was really nervous to come to Erase, and I felt nervous to talk about it. And I didn't, so many of the books that we've read have been helpful and just listening to people's shares. But if we don't start talking about it and standing up against it, especially as a white community, I mean, this is ridiculous. So anyway, sorry to be in transit. I just didn't want to miss this, but I have a crazy day today. So thanks.
Thank you.
And I stopped early because that noise is so scary and triggering. I didn't want to hear
I changed the noise. I think
it.
it's hopefully less, it's more of a
Okay.
pleasant now.
Thanks.
Okay. Phyllis, y'all have to
Well,
let me know.
I have, I have, every time there was a Black person killed by the police, I was very well aware that this would be turned on white people eventually. So I was not surprised. And I've said things like that, like, you think it's only going to be the people who don't look like you, but someday it's going to be the people who look like you. And they're doing the same thing to those two white people, is they're trying to besmirch their reputations and their integrity and their characters, and lie about videos that are clear clear that those people didn't do anything. But again, don't I don't think there's still a lot of white people who get it. And I agree that like what we've done internationally, the training of cops and ICE with the IOF, and using their same tactics here, on the citizens, especially, well, everywhere, but Minnesota is really, I don't know, those people can brave some cold that would put me in the hospital. I'm just like, I'm impressed. And they're so creative in the things they do. Like they would sit in their houses and use their key fobs to make their cars beep instead of going outside. They could just do it from inside their house. And I'm like, that's really smart. And ICE is just increasing their tactics. They're just like, there's going to be more deaths. There's going to be more people dying in their detention because that was gentle.
Is that better? Okay.
I will ask to get back on the list eventually.
Okay, you don't want to be back on right now. Okay. Beatrice, and then the list is open.
Been aware of the kind of training, or you might say lack of training, that these ICE people are receiving.
Clinton.
Some of the advertisements using subtle messages that are related to Nazism, our country again, things that really are intentionally. They're not. I'm saying dog whistles, but we do not know who these people are, what's in their hearts. Clearly, there's very little in their brains. They are on automatic pilot, and they should not be anywhere in urban settings. However, masks, no names, nothing that can identify. Policemen go about with their names on, their badges, their faces are visible. Why? It is an affront to the humanity of the American people who are supposed to live in a democracy, that you can have an armed band of thugs running around, knocking people to the ground, shooting in people's cars. If I broke the window of somebody's car, that's a crime. If I drag somebody out of a car and throw them on the ground, it's a crime. And so here with impunity, these people are committing crimes, and now 2 people have been killed. Of course, only one is being investigated in the federal way. And immediately, Stephen Miller, J.D. Vance, Pam Bondi have jumped forward and created a narrative that makes these people bad people. And thank God, Andrew Pettit's mama, those people came out and said, don't do this, South son. We know who this boy was. We know him. We knew him. His workers, we know what a good person this was. The brothers of Good, saying what a sweet person she was, what a good person she was. Do not disparage people because you have done something wrong to them and make them the wrong when you are wrong. And I'll come back and talk about this fool who said that Black people love him, that he's the best person, the least racist president in the world.
Yeah, thank you. Glenn, you are next, and then the list is open. Oh, sorry. Yeah, Glenn.
Yes, there's goodness in what's happening. It's the reason Trump did this in the way that he has done it, because he wants to punish those Democratic states that are against him, and he but it has turned against him now, so that he's taking 700 of those ICE people out of Minnesota because it is harming him for the next round of voting that's coming up. And he also the head of ICE in that area. He took him out first. So goodness is good gonna come out of this, and um, it's not all doom and gloom. And perhaps this this whole show of power won't go to the other states. Uh, I don't know how much time I got left. I don't want to hear that bell, whatever that is.
46 seconds. I thought it was more pleasant now.
All right. So, uh, Obama took out a lot of people that didn't belong. He took out quite a bit, but it was no brouhaha over it. Wherever he did, it was silent. I didn't even know it was going on.
I see.
So, but this man he wanted display of his power, and it's all working against him. That's it.
All right. Thank you, Glenn. Phyllis, you're next. Then we've got Beatrice after you.
I didn't know I'd be so soon. Well, I object to the people who refer to the Nazis, although Bovino did try to look kind of Nazi-ish in that little coat he had at one point. But I don't think you have to go to Germany in World War II. I think you just need to look at the United States and the slave catchers and the Klan, and we've got all that history here. We don't need to go to Germany to have comparisons. I yeah, that's overlooking the racism that this country's founded on, that has maintained this country, that has strove to keep certain demographics down as second or third class citizens. I heard an interesting commentary that the way this was in relationship to the two officers that were named in shooting Preddy were both Hispanic, that the way minorities have become accepted is by joining police forces. And they gave the example of the Irish and the Italians. And so I was like, no, I never put that together. That was interesting. And I also want to say, and I want to stress this, and I want you all to believe me, do not count on having fair and free midterm elections. Do not count on the Democrats. Do not, because they are failures across the board. Booker, Schumer, they're, oh my God, spineless and have no creativity about they have things they could do. They could slow the process down at the very least. And they are just choosing, because a lot of them, this would affect their APAC money. It's all connected. So don't count on elections. Thank you.
Thank you, Phyllis. Beatrice.
I just wanted a couple of things. One is that during the Obama administration, and he got what the name of deporter in chief, the deportations were occurring at the border, stopping people from coming in to the country, right or wrong. Whether it was people that should have been given asylum, I'm not going to that, but at least nobody was in urban settings with Border Patrol people trained to be at a border, trying to act like they know how to act in the city, because they don't know what they're doing. They got the wrong rules from the place that they're in, and their minds are not right. Somebody has told them that these brown people are the enemy. They're coming in here taking our jobs. J.D. Vance said if we just got them all out, we could have more housing. These people are working on a very unfortunate narrative. People are saying we would have more empty houses if they left. He said that at some point. He's insane. Not thinking about the construction jobs, not thinking at all. Just America is browning, and we don't like this. And white women are not having enough babies, so we got to get people from South Africa because they're hurting the people. It is unreal. And for this man to say, first of all, they said he didn't put that thing up, and that girl was trying to say this was just the whatever the movie was. Now I can't think of it, but that there were no gorillas in that movie. I mean, it was ridiculous. Then the next thing, it was a person, a staffer. No, now today the president, yesterday, no, I'm not apologizing, because Black people, I've been good to black people. The black men voted for me, and I'm not apologizing. I'm the least racist president. This man is insane. They need to go to the 25th Amendment. I don't think J.D. Vance would be better, but this man is clearly mentally deranged. And somebody needs to, before he gets us into a war with this one, Iran, somebody needs to work with him. You saw the people coming in Fulton County, taking our votes.
All right, thank you. The list is open. Nancy.
He also told Minnesota that he would take ICE out if they would turn over their voter rolls. All right. So he told, this according to my husband, he told Schumer that if they turn over their voter rolls, and also he wants them to rename Dulles Airport after him. Do you hear that? And he also said, and I now this I did hear, that Alex Preddy should not have brought a gun to the protest, right? But that is his Second Amendment right. Not only his First Amendment right to protest, but it is his Second Amendment right that he can bring a gun to a protest. Just like the guy that got off, Kyle Rittenhouse, right? But then he stood right after that and said, well, maybe people shouldn't have guns. Now, I don't know if you heard that, but I did see him stand there and say that people should not have guns, which is in direct, opposition to the Second Amendment. But also, if you take that a step further, if I'm not a gun enthusiast. Okay, I'll be the first one to say that we're both ex-military here, and we both, have been able to qualify on the range and everything. But I'm not a gun enthusiast, and we don't have a gun in the house. Okay. However, in recent weeks, I guess, since all of this has started, if you take it a step further, I just have a few more points to make. Take it a step further. If he takes the gun away, revokes your Second Amendment right, and he sends his ICE thugs or expands ICE into his own personal army, his, Gestapo, how do you fight back? I mean, think about it. It really made me question myself in the sense that I don't believe in guns. I really don't. And I don't want them in my house. But on the other hand, the Second Amendment was created so that you would have protection against the government. I'll get back on the list after somebody else.
Clearer than anybody else on the list, but
okay. But anyway, that was the point that I'm trying to make.
I'd like to get on the list.
The Second Amendment was created so that the people would have. I mean, in colonial times, yeah, you would think that's right. Now they can take you out with a drone. So the guns really don't matter, but it's the principle of it. Right. That if you disarm the people, then you have greater control.
Thank you. Teresa.
Thank you.
I got you.
When I used to teach in Honduras, I did not realize that one of my friends, I think I told you guys about this, he was DEA. He told me he was a police trainer. And I just took it at face value. Oh, he's a police trainer. He's training police. Da, 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 da. But one thing that he told me, well, a few things that he told me, but one thing in particular, anything can be a weapon. So if you've got this over confidence that if you take away people's guns, they're not going to have weapons, I'm here to tell you, and I never thought about it until my DEA friend, but he, of course, is somebody who always, anytime he went out, he had a loaded gun on him. And one thing that I will never forget what he told me was, I don't get paid to fight.
Glenn.
Like, he's going to take out his gun if something goes sideways. And that was that. Because he said, anybody, I don't care who they look, what they look like, or whatever, anybody can use anything as a weapon. I don't let people get, like, in a certain situation, they're not going to get close to him, or whatever. And he said, at some point, anybody, if they know how to fight, anything can be a weapon. So that over reliance of, oh, if you don't have a weapon, there's always a rock. There's always Molotov cocktails. There's always ways that you, if that's your goal, to inflict pain, suffering, death onto another person, guns isn't the end all be all. So I just wanted to remind people of that. You don't have to be a gun owner to be resistant. And I would hope, it would be my fondest hope that everybody would choose a nonviolent path, but I know that's not the American way. So that's all I wanted to say.
Right, thank you. Perfect timing also. Okay, Phyllis.
Yeah, I know a lot of people who believe nonviolence is the way to fight every situation, and I think to have that belief is sort of a privilege, to think that like most of those people are white. I just think that in my world. It's a privilege to think that, oh, if I just, like march or boycott or all of those things, that everything's going to change. I think we're facing a situation, a group, administration, a regime where they're not going to respond to nonviolent tactics. I mean, I saw a group of people in Minnesota outside a hotel where ICE was supposedly staying, singing a really lovely song, but that ain't gonna do anything. Those men are out to do their worst to communities of color and anybody else who gets in their way. And I was going to say Molotov cocktails are a way, and they can be thrown from a distance. Slingshots. I think people can 3D print guns, so I don't know how you're going to take all those. Um, and I've never had a gun. I don't see myself ever having a gun, but I'm not going to say people in Minnesota or Minneapolis should be fighting nonviolently if they need to protect themselves and their neighbors, which they're doing an amazing job of showing what community is. They're not giving anybody up. Thanks.
Thank you. Glenn.
Well, something Phyllis said about we can't rely on the vote. Well, there's merit to that because Trump always telling you what his plans are when he said that if you vote for me this time, you never have to vote again. So he does, not that he has any plans, but he got people who has given him plans of how different scenarios where he could stay in office. and and one of those was that he hoped that he had hoped that Minnesotans would come out with guns and start killing, and then he'd have to bring in that law that gives him the power to take they don't have to have any vote anymore. And he hoped they'd do that in all the cities, cause uprising, so he would never, so he can call in where he can be president forever. But uh, but there are people who are fighting against all of that, and I think the guy who killed the nurse, they're saying that it was murder, and that don't fall under federal law. That falls under the local law, so he can be tried for that. Uh, that's all I have to say for now.
All right, thank you, Glenn. The list is open to anybody who'd like to get on the list. And we have about 15 or so more minutes, or even a little more if you want, before we start wrap up. Nancy.
Okay, I
B.
as far as the elections, I had 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 hopes that today is a voting day in Louisiana, in case you all know that. Um, that the midterm elections would be the beginning of turning this around, but the powers that be are interested. They're trying to nationalize elections and put it in the hands of Republicans. Have you heard that? All right. So, and I also feel that at some point, they're going to where you have to identify yourself as a Democrat or a Republican. You have to declare whether you're a Democrat or a Republican. And I feel that that is a way to, identify if you're back in the 50s, if you were a communist. You remember McCarthyism and the communism back in the 50s? Well, if you're a Democrat, then you're part of the enemy within. Really? I mean, I see it may sound far-fetched, but I do see that a path or a line to where that could happen. Um, if you're not a Republican, if you're not a Republican, then you are an enemy. And starting with having to identify yourself, which party you belong to, or you can't vote in certain elections, right? It's going in that direction. Okay, very good.
Perfect. All right. And Beatrice.
A couple of things. One, we must not begin thinking that the election is not going to be fair. Even if in our deepest heart, we believe that. We have to vote. We have to go to the polls. We have to read about the people who are running, and we have to do our task. I mean, we are not supposed to, in Georgia. We're not supposed to give snacks and stuff to people in line. I don't ignore none of that. I go back. I take Hershey's Kisses and water, and I give it to people when they have already finished voting. And one person from the Secretary of State's office was saying something to me. I said, I'm giving snacks to people after they have voted. It is not going to affect them. Anyway, second, while I understand, Phyllis, because I was in the civil rights movement, because I know what nonviolence has to be, it would be there would be a reason for that boy in the White House to create the Insurrection Act. If people began using their guns against ICE, we would have a civil war and a bloodbath, even worse than what we have. And we don't want to forget the detention centers. We see what's going on. Jamel Bowie was helping us point out, the writer, what's going on in the streets, but what's going on in the detention centers is horrible. The other thing is that Raphael Warnock, the senator and pastor, says, evil has within it the seeds of its own destruction. This is not going to continue. This will not last. It is awful. It is bad. And it's clear, it's political, it's blue states, it's clear. And you got people who will say anything that this man thinks that is the correct thing to say, that even if it doesn't make any sense, even if it's ridiculous. We just must not give up, think that things are so bad that it's just going to be awful. And even if they send ICE, and they can't, and the Constitution,
It's okay if you have a thought to finish.
Well, just that the Constitution of the state, this fool cannot nationalize elections. Has he ever read the Constitution? Jesus. I mean, excuse me.
No, thank you, B. Phyllis, you're next.
Yeah, I wasn't saying don't vote, but I think we need to vote with our eyes wide open, and we need to not fall back on, vote blue no matter who. We need to not fall back on that. We need to be very open to voting for independence, and people, even if they are Democratic, who really have shown themselves to be on the side of all the people, not just trying to maintain a status quo for themselves, because that's what a lot of people in government are doing. I posted and then watched the video of a statement made by, if you've seen the video, the woman who was pulled over by police, by ICE, who are not police. And they took a knife and cut her seatbelt off. Her name's Aliyah Rahman, and she's a American born with Bangladeshi descent. And she has a traumatic brain injury. She's autistic. She was on her way to a doctor's appointment. And she basically had gotten into a traffic jam and they just lost their minds on her. And when they handcuffed her face down on the sidewalk, and she's saying, I'm disabled, I'm disabled. And they carried her by her arms and her shackled feet. And her arms are now injured because of that. And they took her to the Whipple Center, I think it's called, where they're doing the detentions. And she describes what she saw there. She spoke to a committee in Congress, I guess. And I don't think we can, I don't know how to fully,
Yeah, you can finish.
I don't know how we can fully fight back against armed thugs, jackbooted thugs, without, and it doesn't have to be gun violence at all. Just like throwing cold water on the ground in frozen Minnesota and making them fall. That's not nonviolent. um, and I think it's just, we're programmed in this country to think that that we're different, that we're not going to face what other countries have faced from fascist regimes. And I think we're seeing that we are. Thank you.
Thank you. The list is open for.
I'll go.
Okay, Kamal, go ahead.
Yeah, what happened to those two people who were killed by those ICE agents is just outright wrong. And I just don't think I hear enough people saying that this right is right and wrong is wrong. And what happened to those people are wrong, is wrong. I don't want for Black people to get into this "I told you so" mentality, even though we did. I don't want us to march to that mentality. Like, yeah, I mean, we told y'all this is how law enforcement is. Y'all ain't listen to us. Not two white people ain't got killed. And y'all, I don't want us to get into that mentality like that. Because that's not going to help us. It's just not. That mentality, it doesn't serve our community. It doesn't serve other people who live in the United States who would have to deal with that type of terror. Yeah, we know what comes with it because our history has shown us what comes with it. But let's use this as a teachable moment rather than a "I told you so" moment with other communities as how to deal with situations like this, because we've dealt with it before. A person who's dyslexic, they actually see letters backwards. And I think that's what you're dealing with when you talk about the White House. You're dealing with a person who's mentally dyslexic. He can't see things for what they are. So when we just ask the question is, has he read the Constitution? Whether he read it or not, he's mentally dyslexic. And he's not going to be able to see or understand the Constitution for what it is because he's not in a mental position to do so. He's just not. Sorry, go ahead. I'll get back on the list if nobody. So one more point I wanted to make, but I'll get back on.
Yeah. Go. Anybody else want to be on the list, or can Amal finish his thought?
Oh yeah, just one more point.
Yeah.
And something that Nancy was talking about when she was talking about how the United States would use communism and things like that to identify people, if you will. The best predictor of future behavior is past behavior. So it's not that far-fetched to believe that the United States government would try to pull a tactic like that by trying to make people identify with something as a way of saying, okay, once you do identify with that thing, now we can dictate whether you're the enemy from within or not. So yes, it's not that far-fetched to believe that the United States government would do something like that because it's done it in the past. So that was my last point.
All right. Thank you, Amal. Stephanie, and then I think after that we could just start the wrap-ups. If we want to have our off recording discussion too, we can. I don't know.
Thanks.
Yeah.
I posted something for Black History Month and about how much I loved Obama and how my favorite speech was Fired Up, Ready to Go. And my dad's youngest brother's wife, who is known for being a Trumpster, came back with inflammatory comments of, wow, oh my gosh. And did you know that he deported blah, blah, blah? And, I knew two of the people and I prayed on it for a couple of days. And then I came back and I just said, I'm so sorry that two people that you knew were deported. Oh, I think I called her. I said, hi, Aunt Elise. I hope you and Uncle Chris are well. I'm sorry that two people that you knew were deported. I'd love to hear their names and their stories. And I said, the Bush administration, under the Bush administration, the immigration had gone from 6 to 12 million. And because she was like, Democrats didn't have a problem with what he did. And so I shared, yes, it was heavily protested by Democrats, and he made policy changes as a result. And he, like we said, was taking people from the border, not racially profiling people and ripping people out of their families and homes and killing people and all the rest of it. And I stood up to her, and my mom said, be careful. We have a family wedding coming up. I said, no, Mom. I said, I was kind. I prayed about it. I got a text from Elena, one of my cousins who's married to a Black man and has, Black children. And she said, thank you so much for speaking up. And she said, I felt so alone and I'm so grateful that you spoke up. And my mom was really moved. She said, okay, I understand now the importance of speaking up, because my mom was afraid of, this big family feud heading into a family wedding. And I said, no, it's worse. The silence is equally as betraying. I'm not being mean and nasty and calling her names, but it was really important what I did. And I just, I don't know, my heart is really broken with what's going on. And I can't believe it. Anyway, minimize the damage for the time that's remaining with this administration. Please, God. Thanks. I'll pass.
Thank you. All right, we can start the wrap-ups. Everybody who's here has spoken, so if you want, you can have 1 minute. I think it's 1 minute, right? Yes. 1 minute for a wrap-up, and then we'll close the meeting. So let's see. Beatrice, would you like 1 minute?
Yes, thank you. An important quote from this article, and thank you for this, Marlon. Our voice is all that we have. We make a conscious decision to utilize our voice and get ahead of the narrative. And I think that is so important. That is our responsibility. And I quoted I made a statement in church. I was making an announcement. I said that Martin Luther King said silence is consent, but actually what he said was silence is betrayal. And that made me remember it, Stephanie. So we have to, it's our responsibility to fix the narrative, especially when somebody has gotten out ahead of it and said something that is not right and just. Thank you for the conversation.
Thank you. Nancy, you have a minute if you'd like it.
Thank you for this article. Very good. I mean, yeah, I, I don't know. I feel that all the things that we discussed today, obviously we're not done. Or we need to see where this is going to lead. But I really feel that country is in trouble. Our Constitution, our independence, our presence on an international stage, everything is in jeopardy. And we really need to get control and get this under control because this administration is just out of hand with everything that they're doing. Um, and I also feel that people who said, "Well, I didn't vote for this," I was thinking about that. You hear people say, "I didn't vote for this." Well, you knew type of person that you were voting for and what they stood for. So even though maybe you didn't vote exactly for this, but you knew it could be a possibility and you let it go anyway. That's it.
All right, thank you. Amal, you have a minute if you would like it.
Yeah, great article. And like I say, I just hope that, particularly for Black people, we're not, you know, throwing it in people's face, if you will. Long time ago, I would have probably said, yeah, let's do that. But now, at this point in time in my life, I realize how unproductive that would be for us to do that. And tell is it Stephanie? Congratulations, because I know how difficult that might be to be able to have to stand up to the elders in your family when they say stuff or when they're wrong about something, and challenge their thoughts, especially when certain people been kind of set in their ways for so long and they've never been challenged. That takes a lot of courage. So congratulations to you for taking a stance and challenging something that you feel was wrong, and you dealt with it. So
All right, thank you, Amal. Teresa.
Yes, thank you for the article, Marla. I really enjoyed that because I was, you know, preoccupied with thoughts that pretty much was summarized in that article. And I also want to say, you all know I'm notoriously not a sports fan, but I'm going to be rooting for Bad Bunny. A lot of what his halftime show is another form of protest and revolution. And you can dance to it and practice your Spanish. So thank you for that.
Yeah, it's a win-win. All right, thank
And
you.
he's gorgeous to look at. Anyway, I'll stop.
Yeah. Okay, Stephanie, you have a minute if you would like it.
Thanks. I had a sports event that I had to go to over the weekend, and the lady at our company who's responsible for the human capital management solution was talking about how other countries are using immigration as a growth strategy to compensate for the lower birth rate and such. And that was really good to hear. And then another encouraging thing was that my boys' school introduced a Southern history tour as part of our learning excursions, and they're going to be visiting the Black museums in the Southeast. I was really excited about that because I worry a little bit about the school because when my sister was shot, I wrote to the president and I wanted him to come out, against white supremacy and make a statement. And he didn't make a statement, and I felt betrayed by that. And anyway, so I'm really glad to hear that they're doing a Southern tour, a history tour of the museum. So that was encouraging. Anyway, thanks for being here.
Thank you. Okay, Phyllis, you have a minute.
Well, the thing that strikes me in all of this that's been going on is the silence of the don't tread on me Second Amendment, you know, cabals in this country who don't, they seem to only want certain people to not have guns. They want to keep their own. They want the police. They want ICE to have guns. They don't want people of color to have guns. They don't want white people who are Antifa to have guns. And and the hypocrisy of saying something like, well, Alex Preddy shouldn't have brought a gun to a protest when they totally let Kyle Rittenhouse do whatever he wanted and didn't charge him with anything and celebrate him as a hero. There's so much hypocrisy, and that is so it's just enraging, and it's like being gaslit all the time. Thank you, Marla, for this article and this topic. I appreciate it.
Thank you, and thanks everybody. Yeah, I think probably the
Wait a minute, Marla.
sorry, Glenn. As I've heard other folks say before, my screen did jump around this time. So, Glenn, you have 1 minute. I apologize.
I thought you were just saving the best for last. That's all.
No, I apologize. You go ahead.
Well, I do not think that the American people is going to tolerate a dictator. Trump didn't get the majority vote of American people last time he went, and every sign is showing that when people get a chance to vote, these early voting, Democrats are getting in places where they've never been voted in before. So it's showing what the trends are going to be like in November. And we'd be thinking everybody voted for Trump because they were racist. A lot of people voted for him because they didn't want no more wars. They got tired of spending money on wars and spending our treasury on wars they didn't get, and they thought that he was going to be against wars. So those people are gonna is cutting him loose, and other people who voted for him for different reasons, they're gonna cut him loose. So uh, so I don't think that we're going to hell in the handbasket. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Sorry about that. Yeah, that was kind of funny. Not intentional. Um, yeah, I really appreciate everybody's input, and it's just nice sometimes just to sit and listen to what other folks have to say. I do wonder through all of this, like how many white folks are going to be willing to move away from the privileges associated with being white and move into that realm of putting their bodies on the line, putting themselves face to face in danger, speaking up, risking your employment, heaven forbid, all of those things. How many white people are willing to go outside of that bubble of so-called protection that they see that they have and do more than get uncomfortable, do more than sit and listen and learn and all of that? Like this is it. It's always been it. We have been way behind the 8 ball as white folks in doing all the things, but if ever there were a time to do the things, this is it. And yeah, I said something like that on Facebook, and I lost a bunch of friends. White people. I mean, see yourself out. I don't know. I don't have anything else to say about that. But yeah, the Alex Preddy and Renee Good died because they moved away from that protection, so-called protection of white privilege, and they stepped away from those comforts and they put themselves on the line, and that's why they died, in my opinion. Why they were killed. I should make it a little bit more clear, the language that I use. I don't really have anything else. The things that are on my mind are trying to stay away from social media or give periodic breaks to myself, because I do not know who is real on there and who is not anymore. I mean, there are so many bots and people making comments. It is hard to know if those folks really believe the things they say, if they're even actually real in real life. So I will leave you with this that I did put on social media. As the masks continue to fall and the world reveals itself more clearly, resist the pull towards cynicism. The oppressor depends on our hopelessness to survive. Surround yourself with people who not only believe a better world is possible, but who are deliberately building it within every aspect of their lives. So that is it. I hope everybody has a wonderful weekend, and thank you for all of your input today. Appreciate all of it.